The transformation of Asia's engineering sector towards sustainable resilience is a pressing topic as the region experiences unprecedented growth in infrastructure development. This dynamic landscape, characterized by a blend of established markets like China and emerging economies such as Laos and Cambodia, highlight the need for innovative practices that enhance the quality of life for citizens while positioning these nations as leaders in global infrastructure. Key to this transformation is the region's abundance of engineering talent, which is essential for driving technological innovation and improving project execution. In this context, we are honored to have Kaushik Chakraborty, Senior Vice President for Asia Pacific and Japan at Bentley Systems, as our guest at Future IoT. Chakraborty brings invaluable insights into the evolving engineering landscape, emphasizing the importance of integrating advanced technologies and sustainability into core engineering practices. His expertise will shed light on how firms can leverage digital tools, foster a culture of innovation, and prepare the next generation of engineers to navigate the challenges of an ever-changing industry.
The state of infrastructure industry, I think overall in the Asia Pacific region is brilliant. It's really good. We have extremely advanced usage of and development of infrastructure, say in China, to emerging parts of Asia, say Cambodia, Laos, which are also galloping and keeping up, trying to keep up and accelerate the pace of development and growth as these economies emerge and they are trying to become a leading economy and build better quality of life for the citizens. So it's very good, it's positive, and the developments are all across the region. So I would say the answer to the question is definitely yes. And if you came to the event, and if you listened to the finalist presentations we had for the event here, and you look at the number of submissions and finalists from the Asia Pacific region, it's an outstanding majority, right? And the projects are complex. The use of technology is equally impressive, and so yes, it's very heartening to see that technology is being used more and more every day. You asked the next question you asked is why. So I think our region, Asia Pacific, also has a very high number of engineers as a profession, right? Engineering as a profession is still a very valued and an esteemed profession, right? I think there is a statistic that China produces more engineers than anywhere else in the world, followed by India, then followed by Indonesia, right, and Philippines. So if you look at our region, these four countries produce more than 65 to 70% of the world's engineers. That gives our users the ability to hire qualified people to do the work, and the age group of the workforce is also young. So the younger the population working on projects and working in the industry, the better use of technology you will see, because they're used to using technology in the day-to-day life. It's a part of their life, right? And that only increases with that. And you see so much, in so many other fields like banking and finance and technology, where Asia has actually led many, many years before the rest of the world in terms of adopting new ways of working and adopting technology to make things simpler and faster and more efficient, right? Starting with WeChat and in China, and then a lot of those things which WeChat introduced were subsequently came into other competitive platforms around the world, right? So the same is happening in infrastructure engineering, right? A lot of the practices with the Chinese design firms are adopting as they now start to work, in Vietnam, in Thailand, in Malaysia, and even in Indonesia on projects. These firms are coming out. They're bringing their practices. They're bringing the efficiency of, designing and building faster. And the local engineering companies, their JV partners, or their subcontractors in the rest of Asia are learning, and the whole ecosystem is being upskilled in a very consistent and in a very productive manner. So the scale of the projects the complexity of the projects and the number of projects is rapidly increasing, right? Asia is a region in a hurry, right? It needs to modernize faster. If you look at the modernization of, say, example, China, what China achieved, it has taken many other countries twice the number of years to build that level of modern infrastructure. So how do you do that without, you have a fixed population, you have fixed amounts of investment money to drive that infrastructure growth, but you have shorter time. Technology is one way to crunch time and to make it more productive, right? So you drive efficiency. I think we see a lot of emphasis on driving efficiency and lowering cost of construction more in Asia than some other parts of the world. And it's probably also because governments are so much more embedded into the infrastructure space in our part of the world, as opposed to many other parts of the world where it's more private, in the balance of government and PPP. So Asia has been doing public-private partnerships for 30, 40 years. PPP is coming into the Western world in the last 5 to 10 years. So when it's public-private, there's always an ROI aspect to it, right? And we've always used the ROI aspect of infrastructure, and that drives innovation. That drives, a different way of thinking. So all of these, I think it's multiple, as all good changes happen, it's because of a number of different catalysts which drive it forward. So the hesitations, in some parts of our region come from, some of the new, especially with AI, is it going to replace jobs? Is it going to take jobs away? This is standard change management, right? Anything new comes, we are always scared, right? When digital payment gateways came, banks resisted, right? Well, what will happen to cash? And eventually, we as humans always learn that new is not always bad, right? It's rarely bad, actually. New is most of the time much better than it's bad. And we learn to adapt. So it's just going through that cycle of accepting, learning, and being more patient. So that's one. Some parts of Asia, I think we just have to be more mindful of the pace of change, communication, and training. You have Japan on one way, which is extremely mechanized and automated, and has been for 20 plus years, versus Philippines or Cambodia, which has a different rate of mechanization and automation, right? So we have to be mindful that we can't say, well, it's working in A, why can't it work in B? We have to get B to A, and that's the patience we as an industry have to, we have to have that patience, and also the courage to continue to be relentless in the pursuit of, we will help drive that change. So interestingly, if you look at some of the projects from Asia over here, the integration of subsurface into the digital twin, plus also the geospatial context in the digital twin, has already started to happen in our region, right? And that's the exciting part of it. So that they're integrating all levels of information about a project into one, or they're condensing it all into one data structure or data format, right? So the use of data rather than files to manage projects, that's the encouraging part. And it's already starting to happen. And that's, what our users prove to us that they're doing it, So that's very exciting. We are seeing the change we are seeing it with our own eyes. And it's evolving. Every year we see more and more projects doing that. So there's a number of aspects to drive, and measure, outcomes and KPIs, right? Is how much, for the simplest are, of course, hours of saving, or days or months of saving in project delivery times. That can then translate into money. There's also a learning in terms of efficiency of how do you learn so that you can become more efficient in the next one, right? And the more you save on projects, like I was talking to one of the users here today who won last year, but it's not from Asia, but they're from North America. And they said that in their one project, they saved so much that their money could be given back to the government, so it helped fund another project, right? And it funded 50% of the next project from the savings of the first one. Now think of the added value to the community of that, right? This was a project in California, and so everybody's happy. And so what then that drives is more innovation of the, hey, this technology is helping us, digital twins are helping us be more effective and be a lot more efficient, because it's forcing everybody in the project to work on the same level of information. That's the change versus a file-based, where I did something, then I passed a file to you, you did something, then you passed it to the next person. So think of what Google changed in the way we write documents, right? And today Microsoft does the same with Word. I can collaborate with 6 other people and co-write a document at the same time. I don't have to finish writing, then send it, they do changes, then send it to the next. We're all doing it collaboratively at the same time. So the amount of time that saves, and it also generates new ideas, right, when we work collaboratively. That's also what technology is doing, is driving more innovation through collaboration. To some extent, yes. I mean, it's the same savings as, or the value add from the previous question. I would add, overall benefit, and what are we learning, and how do we take those learnings to the next one? Right? That's what you learn, is how much efficiency. It's efficiency, time, money, which we are always tracking, right? That's the mantra of the construction industry, right? Time is equal to money. But also today, we are also looking at how do I track resiliency? How do I track, is it the sustainability of my infrastructure, right? Do I build KPIs in terms of reduction in carbon, with some of the new tools we have in the industry, and Bentley's released, talked about the new carbon analysis tool today. How do we embed these into our projects as a standard de facto going ahead, whereas in the past, somebody would have finished a design and at construction said, oh, I need to now, somebody asking for a report on embedded carbon, and then you try to work it. Well, started from day one at the time of design, right? How do I lower my embedded carbon rather than what is the embedded carbon? So these are the KPIs. As technology provides you the ability to do more, right? We should build KPIs which adapt to what the advantages of new tech provide for you. The use of generative AI and what the cloud computing does in terms of helping train large language models, like we saw today, right? So where engineers spend less time, or practically no time in future, on mundane tasks which are manual and repetitive, but they spend time on being creative and training models to come up with more, better designs, more cost-effective designs, simpler designs, right? Based on all the constraints of what the project has to achieve. How do I get the software and the technology with using the power of the cloud to actually drive better outcomes for what I want to do, rather than, and the system takes care of all the mundane, boring tasks for me. So our role is simplify the software offering, simplify the actual usage of the tool, right? Make it simple to use and very intuitive, right? Make it so when we design tools today, so when you saw OpenSite Plus today, it was designed from scratch for this generation, versus the tool, say maybe, which was designed 20 years ago, didn't really think of touch and didn't think of it being operational as an app. So make it simpler to use and create more learning systems where our users can quickly learn and adapt. And then the last and the equally important one is, now how do we take this into academia so that the next generation of students learn this inherently as a way of working and not as something add-on or something new, but it becomes inherent to what they do today. Like, 5 years ago, somebody going to school, no longer had to memorize things, they had Google search, right? Our generation, we had to read books and memorize things. But today, nobody memorizes anymore, right? So we have to make this inherent in the education, not just at university, but even in schools, right? So this makes teaching of infrastructure engineering and the value of that. Think of what we've done with Cesium, right? And some of the innovations you could see at the iLabs that makes civil engineering, sexy in a way, right? And more people can get, attracted to it. So we just have to keep on evolving, making the tools simpler, helping people learn faster, and getting the next generation to be more excited about the field of engineering.